When the world lost Malcolm Jamal Warner, few realized just how profoundly it impacted one of Hollywood's top actors, Anthony Mackie. But away from the limelight, beyond the flashes of cameras and the noise of red carpets, the two had built a quiet yet powerful friendship. And now, for the first time, Mackie is breaking his silence, and what he reveals will not only move you, but also uncover a side of Warner the public rarely got to see when the tragic news broke about. The Cosby Show's beloved star, Malcolm Jamal Warner's passing brought the world to a standstill for many. He was the brilliant, introspective Theo Huxtable, a television icon whose impact helped define Black excellence on screen. But for Anthony Mackie, it hit much deeper. Before he ever took flight as Falcon or carried the weight of the Marvel universe on his shoulders, Mackie had formed an off-camera connection with Warner, one few people ever knew existed. It wasn't built on stardom or red carpet appearances. Their bond was a brotherhood forged through deep conversations, shared laughter, mutual respect, and unwavering loyalty. Now, as tributes continue to pour in, Anthony Mackie is finally speaking out, honoring the man he considered more than a friend, describing him as a truly beautiful soul. But what truly linked these two men from such different acting generations? How did their lives intersect? What role did Malcolm play in Mackie's journey, as a mentor, a confidant, and a steady guide through the chaos of fame? You won't believe the private conversations they shared behind closed doors, or the emotional support they gave one another during times of personal grief, and the unspoken promise between them that now feels tragically foretelling. Here's where it becomes raw and deeply emotional, because beyond the glitz and surface of celebrity culture, there was a connection rooted in vulnerability. And now, for the first time, we're hearing the full story. Hollywood is filled with superficial relationships, handshakes at award shows, posed red carpet selfies, and the occasional on-screen partnership. But every once in a while, two artists meet and form a bond that transcends the entertainment business. That's exactly what happened between Anthony Mackie and Malcolm Jamal Warner. Their first meeting didn't take place on a film set. It wasn't at a glamorous premiere or during a festival celebration. It happened behind the scenes at a charity event in Los Angeles nearly 10 years ago. The event focused on mental health awareness within the Black community, a cause that both men supported privately but seldom spoke about publicly back then. According to eyewitnesses, Anthony had been invited to speak about his late father's mental health battles, while Malcolm had just performed a moving spoken word piece that touched on emotional healing and inherited trauma. Afterward, the two found themselves sitting side by side, both contemplative, both guarded, and from that moment on, something quietly powerful began to form between them. What began as a simple, polite conversation eventually turned into a 2-hour heart-to-heart, diving deep into family, manhood, identity, and legacy. In a later interview, Mackie reflected, "I didn't go into that night expecting anything to change. But when Malcolm spoke about healing, not for show, but from a real place, something shifted. He wasn't there to impress anyone. He was simply being truthful, and that honesty was exactly what Mackie needed." From that evening forward, something quietly rooted itself between them. They weren't speaking daily. There weren't flashy Instagram pictures or casual podcast name drops. But behind the curtain, Warner and Mackie began developing something rare, a friendship built on authenticity. Mackie once called Warner a mirror, not someone who flattered him, but someone who challenged him, someone who could call him out without tearing him down, who reminded him that being a Black man in Hollywood means dealing with both hypervisibility and invisibility, and that the real measure of character comes from how you carry yourself when nobody's watching. One person close to Mackie once shared, Malcolm became someone Anthony could really open up to. They weren't best friends in the typical sense of the word, but the connection was real and it ran deep, especially when it came to legacy, fatherhood, and surviving emotionally. One of their final conversations reportedly involved Warner telling Mackie, "Don't let the industry numb you. You still have your light, protect it." That message stuck with Mackie. And now, in the wake of Warner's death, those words mean more than ever. Their connection ran far deeper than private phone calls and offhand texts. When Malcolm began slipping into a quiet emotional struggle over the past few years, Mackie was one of the rare few who noticed. And what he attempted to do next is something most never saw coming. On the surface, Malcolm Jamal Warner looked as though he had it all under control, a veteran in the business with a remarkable legacy, actor, musician, director, advocate. Warner had seemingly avoided the usual traps that haunt former child stars. He wasn't a tabloid headline, wasn't battling substance issues, wasn't self-destructing. But those who truly knew him understood this. Malcolm had mastered the art of suffering silently. In recent years, Warner had been facing a quiet storm of mental health battles, intensified by personal losses, the unrelenting pressure of being a cultural symbol, and the toll of maintaining that exhausting balance between being publicly strong and privately vulnerable. One longtime friend said in a podcast, he was always the strong one. The quiet one, the guy who listened more than he talked. But we all knew, behind that smile, Malcolm was worn down. Not just physically, but deep in his spirit. Anthony Mackie saw it too. In multiple interviews, Mackie admitted he'd begun reaching out more frequently over the past couple of years, especially after a mutual friend suddenly passed away from a health issue. That moment rocked their inner circle and triggered more heartfelt check-ins after the funeral. Mackie reportedly texted Malcolm, "If you ever need to talk about anything, no cameras, no ego. I'm here, man, for real." Warner responded with a thumbs-up emoji followed by a short message. "Appreciate you. Just tired lately." That reply stuck with Mackie, and from that point on, he made more of an effort to stay connected. Sending voice notes, suggesting meets while filming in LA, even sharing books and articles on grief and emotional healing. "I didn't want to overwhelm him," Mackie shared in a recent tribute. "But I wanted him to know I saw him, that I understood a smile didn't always mean peace." Still, despite Mackie's efforts, Warner remained distant. Not dismissive, just emotionally withdrawn. And for someone like Mackie who values emotional openness and vulnerability, it was heartbreaking to watch someone he cared about slowly drift into silence. But there was one moment just 6 months before Warner passed that Mackie says he'll never forget. They had met for coffee. No red carpets, no entourage, just two men sitting across from each other. Mackie, sensing something different in Malcolm, brought it up gently. According to Mackie, "I told him, you don't owe anyone your strength, man. You don't have to carry it all." And Malcolm just looked at him and said, "I know, but I don't know who I am if I'm not carrying it." That sentence shattered Mackie. Because here was someone so often seen as a cultural rock, quietly admitting he didn't know how to live outside of the pressure that had defined him. Since his teenage years, Malcolm had been held up as a symbol of success, but few ever stopped to ask if he was okay. In his final months, those close to him say Warner became more withdrawn. He was still working, still showing up, but emotionally, he had started to fade. He skipped events, declined interviews, and began missing more and more calls. Friends said his energy was dimming. Mackie, who was filming in Atlanta at the time, sent another message. "Let me know if you want to disappear for a while. No cameras, just peace. I'll take care of everything." He never got a reply, and then the news came, unexpected, sudden. Crushing, Warner was gone. There had been no major warning. No public announcement of any illness. Just a devastating reality that left millions stunned and Anthony Mackie completely speechless. But what Mackie did next in the aftermath of Warner's death turned his private grief into a powerful public tribute, one that sparked a wave of emotional reflection across Hollywood and beyond. The world was still reeling from the sudden loss of Malcolm Jamal Warner when Anthony Mackie made a rare, unfiltered appearance. He hadn't been scheduled to speak. It wasn't a press event or a pre-planned memorial. It happened spontaneously during the panel at the Culture Shift conference in Atlanta, where Mackie was originally slated to discuss media representation. But when he stepped on stage, something in the atmosphere changed. The moderator welcomed him, expecting a conversation about Marvel films or his expanding production ventures. Instead, Mackie paused, took a breath, and said, "Before we start, I need to say something about someone who meant a lot to me." Even if most people never saw us together. The room fell silent. What followed was a raw, 5-minute unscripted tribute, one black man honoring another, one friend paying homage to someone who had quietly changed his life. Malcolm wasn't just Theo, Mackie began. He wasn't just an actor. He was the guy who called me after my dad died when no one else did, just to sit on the phone in silence for 15 minutes. No agenda, just presence. His voice cracked. He was the man who would send you poems in the middle of the night if he felt your spirit was unsettled. He was the friend who remembered your kid's birthday, even when you forgot. That was Malcolm, a quiet warrior, a beautiful soul. As Mackie continued, his eyes welled with tears. And then came the moment that stopped the internet in its tracks. He looked down, wiped his face, and said, voice trembling, I wish I had. Pushed harder. I wish I had called him one more time. I thought he needed space, but maybe he needed someone to just show up. He stepped back from the mic, unable to go on. The room didn't clap. There was no sound. Just stillness, reverence, grief. Within hours, that raw moment was circulating online. The clip went viral, gathering millions of views. The hashtag for Malcolm began trending. Celebrities across the industry joined the wave. Actors like Sterling K. Brown, Viola Davis, and Journey Smollett posted heartfelt messages. Many admitted they hadn't known Malcolm personally, but his presence in the business gave them permission to show up, unapologetically and fully. Director Ava DuVernay wrote, some lights don't go out, they transition. Malcolm was one of the brightest. Thank you, Anthony, for saying what so many of us felt. But it wasn't only Hollywood that felt the weight of the loss. HBCUs began organizing candlelight vigils. Fans launched online spaces to share memories. Podcasts across the culture space dedicated entire episodes to celebrating Malcolm's life, not just as Theo Huxtable, but as a man who quietly mentored, supported, and held emotional space for so many around him. But here's where things get even more emotional. Mackie isn't just creating this project in memory of Warner, he's doing it to fulfill a promise. A promise he never got the chance to keep. Because behind every true friendship, especially in a place as delicate and performative as Hollywood, there are moments the public never sees. One of those moments happened about a year before Malcolm Jamal Warner passed, during a quiet dinner at a small tucked-away restaurant in Atlanta. No press. No publicists. Just 2 plates of soul food and a long, soul-bearing conversation about legacy. That night, Mackie recalls, the topic turned to purpose. The big question, what are we really leaving behind that matters? Malcolm wasn't thinking about red carpets, awards, or resume highlights. He was speaking from the heart about emotional impact. About creating a world where young Black men could feel seen, safe, and heard. He shared how rare that was for him growing up, even while living in the spotlight. We've got to teach them it's okay to be soft, Malcolm said. It's okay to cry, to be uncertain, to just be human, especially when the world keeps trying to turn you into a statue. That hit Mackie deeply, especially in that moment while carrying the weight of his rising stardom and the pressure to always seem steady, always appear unbreakable, both in the public eye and in private. And as they left the restaurant that night, Mackie told Malcolm something that would linger in his heart. If you ever decide to do something with that message, a podcast, a documentary, a book, I'm in. All the way, we'll do it together. Malcolm gave a soft smile. Not a wide grin, just that quiet, knowing nod. Maybe, he said, when I'm ready, but that's where the heartbreak hits. He never got the chance to be ready. Because less than a year later, Malcolm was gone. That vision, that seed of something honest, something healing, disappeared with him. Or at least that's what Mackie believed. Until a few days after Warner's passing, while going through their old texts and voice notes, Mackie stumbled across a document Malcolm had sent him almost a year earlier, a draft script. It was titled, For the Boy Who's Still Learning How to Cry, unfinished, raw, a blend of poetry, spoken word, and journal-style reflections. But it was enough to show Malcolm had already begun creating something, and he never told anyone else. Only Mackie. That discovery changed everything. Mackie told Essence magazine, reading that felt like hearing his voice in the next room. It was filled with love, fear, grief, wisdom, but above all, it was real. It was Malcolm in his truest form. And in that moment, Mackie knew exactly what needed to be done. He reached out to Malcolm's mother and sister, sharing the document and asking for their blessing, not just to continue with the poetry project, but to carry forward a larger mission. Here's what's reportedly in motion now, a legacy-centered media initiative. Anthony Mackie is working to launch a nonprofit media platform in Malcolm's honor, tentatively titled the Still Voice Project. Its purpose? To create space, especially for Black men, artists, and youth, to explore grief, emotional expression, storytelling, and healing. Workshops, audio sessions, short films, partnerships with mental health orgs. Nothing polished for Hollywood, just raw, real conversations. And at the heart of it all will be Malcolm's voice, shared posthumously through poetry, narration, and archival footage. So why does this matter so much? Because in Mackie's words, Malcolm was always trying to help the rest of us feel whole, even when he was quietly falling apart. And now Mackie has the chance to help finish what Malcolm started, not for clout, not for fame, but because that's what real friends do. This isn't just about mourning a loss, it's about carrying forward a mission that mattered, a mission too rare and too honest to let slip away. And as fans continue to grieve and remember Malcolm Jamal Warner, it's Anthony Mackie who's stepping up, not to replace his voice, but to make sure the world finally hears it.